saying that. And it's not any individual vote. What I'm talking about is extremely specific. Okay? And in the time when I was on the Zoning Commission, unfortunately, there were some comments made that I have subsequently researched personally. I have not gone out and not pushed anyone else to vote with me, but that have been, in my mind, over the ethical line. And it's not that I'm speaking ill of the man, but it's behavior that shouldn't have happened, that would have been, you know, of a, well, let's leave it at that, if we can leave it at that. Thank you.
In the course of last week or so, perhaps a little bit longer, when it was apparent that there would be some vacancies on the Zoning Commission, word got out that the mayor was going to support and renominate Nate Sumpter back to the Zoning Commission. And I supported that. I thought it was a good idea, as I indicated early on. Subsequent to that, I received a phone call trashing Mr. Sumpter's character from an appointed official in this city. And when I questioned him and looked into it, the person who trashed Mr. Sumpter's character really didn't know what he was talking about. There was no foundation, no basis for anything that it was said, that all the permits had been gotten, and there was no problems. Now, the mistake aside, I can understand that. What I can't understand is the character assassination, the witch hunt, and that kind of thing. And it made me really concerned about this nomination. I had also heard that there were some ethical issues involved. Having heard about these ethical issues after the phone call that I heard, I looked into them. I talked to a few people, including former Zoning Commission members that are highly respected. And they found nothing unethical about some of these issues that came up during the discussions over a period of time. On occasion, apparently, just as in the council, and when we're having committee meetings, full council meetings, when a discussion will go into a direction that may not be completely germane to the topic at hand, we allow that to go because it's purely for informational purposes. So often I found myself being concerned about affordable housing issues, about minority hiring issues, and things like that, even though it may not had no impact on my vote. So if a zoning commissioner occasionally asks a developer in a friendly, constructive way about a policy or something that may relate to a minority hiring program or something like that, nowhere near unethical, from what I've been told, by experts and highly respected people. No impact on votes, and actually was only thinking of the good of the city. I don't consider those things unethical, although someone else might. And I think, personally, I'm glad that the questions were asked. I'm told that the responses were generally constructive. The developers would respond to the questions. And even though it had no bearing on the actual zoning issue itself, no problems at all, and the votes were objective and okay. So I find nothing unethical about anything. Based on my investigation, I found nothing unethical, anything to question about Mr. Sumpter's time on the zoning commission, whatever the particular projects were that the discussions took place. I will repeat, I am concerned about a style of politics where it's best described as witch hunting, which has happened on several occasions. in the last few months in this city. And I hope the folks responsible for it cease to do it, and it never happens again. It certainly doesn't bring us together as a community. Thank you.
Mr. Watts?
I'd like to agree with my colleague, Bruce. First, I agree with you, and I agree with your statement. It's not the normal council either. You know, when we assassinate people's character. Obviously, he took some tough votes. Some people may not agree with. And believe you me, this guy who gets scrutinized a lot. I could tell you that knowing he goes in and he operates independently. And that's all you can ask. The person review the information, come to a reasonable conclusion, and vote. And rumor, innuendo, that's not. He agrees that he wants to be reappointed. Mayor made the right call, and reappointing him, I think it's the right call. And we should try to do our best to guard each other's reputation. And it's in my church covenant that we try to do our best to protect each other's reputation. It's very important. And I feel that Mr. Sumpter is doing the right thing. It's not as easy as someone looking through a lens and saying, hey, I don't like to vote. I can point to a few things you voted for, and now I'm gonna boot you off because of 1, 2, 3 projects. I don't know how many projects he probably dealt with, but I'm sure that it was a lot. And I just feel that we should give Mr. Sumpter the benefit of the doubt, allow him to go back, absent any other, you know, say any documents or any hardcore proof to say he did something unethical. And that in itself is, how do you deny a negative? If someone says you're being unethical, it's up to the person to say, hey, I'm not being unethical. And it's hard to disprove a negative. And that in itself is wrong. To say that there are unethical violations or rumors or innuendo, that puts a person at a disadvantage. That puts that person on the defense. And we shouldn't do that, especially on TV, not in an open council. We shouldn't do that kind of stuff. Now, here is a public servant who wants to serve, and we shouldn't come out into the general public and even attempt to put that out into the ethos. We shouldn't do that. That's wrong. Okay? Now, if you have the smoking documents, if you have some proof, you should have shared that with your caucus, and they should have shared it with our caucus. But absent of that, you do not come out into an open council and accuse someone or even suggest that that person is being unethical, because that's wrong. This is going to be played on TV over and over again. And sure, some cynics out there will say, well, maybe he is being unethical. And that's wrong. Okay? Because now he has to prove that he's not. And therefore, I feel like we shouldn't even go there unless there's some proof. And there is no proof that he is being unethical. Therefore, we should stay away from that stuff in an open council. It's just not the right path. And you definitely don't treat people who are working, spending time away from their families, and doing the business of the city, and this is the way he's treated. That's wrong. I wouldn't treat a Republican like that. I wouldn't treat an independent like that. I wouldn't treat anybody like that. So let's do the right thing and vote for Mr. Sumpter, or in your case, maybe vote against him. But don't vote against him because of some rumors, some innuendo. Vote against him because you honestly believe that he's not qualified. And I think that he is qualified. But outside of some kind of proof, let's just reappoint him. That's what I'm urging.
Mr. Hempstead?
Mr. Mayor, it's not a pristine process doing appointments. We vote for individuals one way or the other for a variety of reasons, from what party they belong to a vote. It happens. The more influential the board is on policies in Norwalk, I think sometimes the more contentious or the larger opinions take place whether they want to support something like that. And that's part of our process. That's why we have to vote on it. It's not an automatic. So give or take, we're all entitled to an opinion. But on the other hand, if there are any things that people are concerned about, the way any of us behave, or anybody else for that matter, there is a process in place in our ordinances of what we're supposed to do in those cases. It was meant to be in a session that allows anonymity in the beginning until things can be proven. And that's the way that ordinance is set up. And if there are any concerns by anybody, then we have a process in place to do so. And even though I know Mr. Sumpter and I have had many parking lot discussions, some heavy, some light. Well, everything I do is heavy, though. And I may not always agree with his votes, but Mr. Sumpter, it needed to be put back on this commission because it reflects a certain point of view, a certain area that needs representation. I think that's important to have. So with that, I'll be supporting Mr. Sumpter's vote. If there are other issues that need to come up at some point, that's the way else not, then notice the process.
Seeing no other hands, I would just like to say that I served with Mr. Sumpter as well on the Zoning Commission. I found him to be thoughtful. I found him to really ask the right questions. And before he voted one way or the other, he always made sure that he had the right information. And one thing that impressed me more than anything was that he always seemed to look out for those who can't look out for themselves in the area of affordable housing, in the area of trying to encourage developers to hire local businesses, just working well. And sometimes those zoning commission meetings could get rather heated. And I don't think I ever recall Mr. Sumpter raising his voice. He would ask questions. He was thoughtful, and I really appreciated serving with him. And he also was very helpful to me when I first started on the Zoning Commission, being a novice, and he brought me along with Mr. Mushak in helping me to understand the zoning rules, regulations, and how the process works. So I'm really very happy that Mr. Sumpter has asked to be reappointed. He didn't have to because I was going to put his name up anyway. But as Mr. Watts pointed out, people who are willing to give up so much of their own time for such a cause that's really, really important to the city of Norwalk, we should be very thankful that we have people like Mr. Sumpter. So if there's no other comments, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.